Hey guys, welcome back. So we're going to be rebuilding the Land Rover 2.25 Series diesel head today. So the first thing I got to say is word of caution. I am doing this at home. This is a DIY. I would strongly suggest if you want to get your head done on your engine, take it to a shop, get it checked, machined, do all that jazz. But I'm not really that kind of person, so I'm going to rebuild it myself. And this is a longer video. We're going to go from beginning, stripping it down. I even wrote down what we're going to be doing because it's a longer one. So we're going to be taking apart the head. We're going to be cleaning the head and looking at the valve guides, replacing the valve guides, lapping the valves, reaming the valve guides, and cleaning it all up and reassembling it. So stick around the video. It's a longer video, and so hopefully it will cover everything in one video instead of doing parts of videos. So hope you enjoy it. Watch the whole thing through. Watch it in pieces and parts. We're kind of going to follow the way that I just said it. And we're going to be using two tools to take apart the heads. One is the Volkswagen tool. We'll take a look at that, and at the end we'll be putting it together with like a Chevy V8 valve spring compressor. So again, word of warning, this is a DIY. I'm doing it myself at home. Strongly suggest you doing this. Take it to a garage if you don't feel comfortable doing this, but I'm cheap and this is just what I like to do in my garage, and so words of warning to you. So let's get started in the video. I've been talking long enough. So thank you everybody for liking and subscribing, your positive words. You guys are always awesome. Stay awesome and enjoy the video. Thank you. Here we are over here on with the Land Rover head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the valves out, compress the springs, and take the keepers out, and then I can take the valves out from the other side. So there's a lot of different tools you can do to do this or whatever, but this tool here is actually a Volkswagen air-cooled Volkswagen Beetle, Bus, or whatever head spring compressor. So what you do is normally the Volkswagen head would be sitting here and the valves would be sitting like this, and you take this and you push down and it would push down the spring. I'm going to show you here. Go and you push down and it will from underneath it will hold the valve in place, and then you push down on here and it'll push the spring down and you can take the keepers out. So I'm going to use it on this Land Rover head because, hey, if you got a tool you might as well use it. So what I did different, instead of having the head sitting like this, and the Volkswagen head's a lot smaller, I used some 2x4s underneath and over here to support it to keep it flat. So then now I could take this, push down, take the keepers out, lay them over there, and there you go. And you got your spring. See how easy that was? All you do is you push down on here. Actually, you can actually put a bar on the end of this as well if you need more leverage to push down. But it works pretty good. Worked pretty good so far, the ones I got. Ah, I see here. I'll bring you in closer. You see here it has the later oil seals around the top of the valve, the rubber seals, instead of the early ones where it had the O-ring that was inside of the head. So whenever they rebuild it, they must have put in the different valve seats or something, or they put the different seals in there for it. So that's pretty cool. Let's take the valve out and take a look at it from the other side. Okay, so here we are on the other side. I flipped the head over. Go in here, pull the valve out. You look there, a little bit of carbon around there. Doesn't look too bad. Okay. Well, I'm going to plan on cleaning these up, putting them in some cleaner. Whoops. See the carbon around the edge right there from sitting? Okay, so I'm going to start working on taking all the rest of these out. Alright, so I got all the valve springs out, but I thought you'd want to take a closer look at the tool. So this is it. That's all it is. It's just a simple flat plate bar going across with a handle here. Has a little bit of adjustment on it here and there. But it worked great. It worked perfect. All I did was slide it along on the 2x4s and went right underneath there. No problem. Popped it right off. So, have them all off. The springs are here in line. That's the front there. They match this way that I have it sitting. And then our cardboard box, the same one with the push rod tubes. Push rods, I mean. Push rods here, and here are valves in order right here, to front to back. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let this soak in some lacquer thinner to clean off any carbon that's on the bottom of it, and then to clean off everything else. So I got it all cleaned up on the surface here, all nice and clean, and it's pretty smooth all around. So it's actually looking pretty good, the head itself. And the seats, they look okay as well. They're looking all right. I used a little bit of lacquer thinner and just kind of polished and cleaned the whole thing. So then I took a machinist flat edge and kind of went around and kind of looked in between here, things like that, and it's pretty straight. Like, there's no gaps whatsoever when you're looking down through here. So I think the head is pretty good. I don't think there's some discoloration in between here, which I was afraid that maybe there's a gap in here or something of some sort, but it's perfectly straight. Well, close enough for this, I guess, but yeah, it's flat the whole way across. So since now I have it all clean, it's pretty nasty, all these coolant holes going around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some masking tape. I got this green masking tape, and I'm going to tape off the coolant holes, flip it over, and fill it up with some Purple Power or whatever, super clean, to fill up the head itself. But I'll show you here in a second. But I'm going to put tape on this now and then move it outside. So I masked off the coolant holes. I masked off this one. There's one random one over here. So I masked them all off. I'm going to take it outside. Alright, so I got a big jug of Purple Power, and I'm going to pour it down into the head. It doesn't have to stay sealed totally tight, you know what I mean? Just enough so it holds the fluid in there for a while. Alright, she's all filled up now, so I'm just going to leave it there probably for a few hours here. And let it sit there and just let it soak and do its thing. Well, that didn't work all that great. It stayed in there for about a half an hour or so or whatever, and it's already poured all out the bottom. But we got some cleaner in there for now, so I'm going to rinse it out with the hose and see what happens. Oh, there's still a little bit left in there. Oh yeah, it still had some cleaner in there. You can see stuff coming out already. I'm gonna try to get the water to come out of these holes. They're not coming out of there. Oh yeah, lots of dirt coming out. And now I'm going to shoot it up into the holes this way, see what comes out. Okay, so I got the head sitting out in the sun here all afternoon after I cleaned it up. It looks like there's a little bit of surface rust on there, but that's not too bad though. But all the ports are now clean, so that's good. So let's take the head and put it back onto the workbench, and we'll take a closer look at it and start doing some more work to it. Well, tomorrow I'm going to be heading over to a friend's house, and we're going to be pressing out these valve guides and replacing them with some new valve guides I got. So I thought I'd take a look at them here and show you to them or whatever first. So the exhaust one is kind of a larger, or would this be the intake one? I guess it would be this one would be the exhaust one, and it has the larger opening inside. It goes with a smaller valve. And then this is the intake one. It's a little bit shorter. Also, you can tell by the length too. The shorter one is the intake one, and the exhaust is the longer one, because they actually go into the head a little bit deeper than the other one. I'll show you here on this one. But these are the ones I ordered. One came in a blue box, made in South Africa. It has on there, but it doesn't say BritPart or nothing, but I'm sure it is. And then the other one just came in this clear bag with nothing marked on it at all. So I took the valves over here, and I gave them a good polish with 1000 grit sandpaper, and they slide in and out of the new guides really snug and tight. So the shorter ones, the intake ones, they're very nice and tight and snug in there. Not snug, but nice and smooth. But the exhaust ones are a little bit looser than the intake ones, which I guess is normal. I don't know, but the ones that are in the head right now, they're pretty loose. Done there. So as I was taking the springs out and taking the valves out, I was checking to see if any of them move. And look at this. It moves, it spins, and it goes up and down a little bit. The rest of them, snug, snug, snug. And this one spins in there. Then this one's tight and tight or whatever. So hopefully this is just a valve guide problem and not a head problem, or then I'll have to take it to a head shop and have them actually machine the head or do something with it or whatever, fix it. But we're going to try replacing them first or whatever before having to go to a machine shop or whatever to get these done. So I'm going to flip over the head and I'll show you the insides and see, you'll be able to see why the longer one and the shorter one has to be put in the correct spot. And so we got the head flipped over. You can see down in there, the exhaust one actually is completely filled with the head material. The material the head's made from. The casting goes all the way up to the top of it. So this whole valve gets pressed in and out, and only a little bit of it hangs out. You can see here, see the flat going across. And then there's a little little machine down part here. Must be the part that sticks out right there. So then the shorter ones here, you can see they have a smaller flat right here to be pressed in. You can see they stick out a little bit from the inside. So there's not much really holding in the valve guides for the intake one. The exhaust one's in there pretty tight, but it's in there pretty long. But probably because it gets the hottest with all the exhaust coming through. And this is probably cooler, so it doesn't get as much, doesn't need as much to hold it. But that's just my guess or whatever. But the exhaust one's really deep, so it's going to be nice to be able to go to a press, have my buddy or whatever to come and push these right out with no problem. So right now, here, let me take one of the valves here, and I'll show you how loose it is. You might not be able to see it on camera. They're pretty loose though, the way they're in there. But the exhaust ones kind of hear it. They actually move quite a bit. But they're in there pretty good or whatever, the seats sitting down inside there. They're pretty tight, but hopefully I'm going to see how tight they are whenever we press in the new ones, and then I'm going to lap these valves. So we'll see how it all fits together whenever we get the new valve guides in there. Hopefully we won't have a problem with those ones moving up and down and they snug back up again. I'm hoping maybe some rust got in here or something and it's got loose in there somehow with just a part of it, because they don't pop out by hand. They only move up and down a little bit. So I'm hoping maybe just a little bit of the head where the valve guide is messed up a little bit, because these are pretty soft material, the valve guides. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow, and I'll be back. Well, we're back from getting the valve guides pressed out and pressed back in. So all the exhaust ones, they were pretty snug and pretty tight in there. So the press pushed them out perfect. And I noticed with the newer ones that the edge needed to be cleaned up. So we kind of took 800 grit paper. I'll show you on the old ones here. On here, these little steps that are right here, these are the old ones, they don't have it. But they had little steps here and they were pretty sharp. They weren't smooth at all. So we took 800 grit and kind of smoothed this out. Then I took around this edge as well. I took 800 and just kind of cleaned up the edge a little bit so it's smoothed out. So when we press them in, they kind of dropped right in nice right at the beginning. And then we could press them all the way down in until it was flat against this edge. And this edge had a little ridge on it too, so that's why I ended up hitting this. So what we did is I put oil on the outside of this, put oil inside the hole, and then it kind of pulled up here. It pulled up the oil, and then as it went down, and when this edge here squirted out from all the oil on here, then we stopped pressing, and it fit in there perfectly. So each of the valves, I think, what was it, number 1 here was loose, and we pressed it out, pressed it back in. I'll show the number 1 guide here. I measured the guide and it seems to be good all up and down. It kind of measures the same all around, and I didn't really see anything that would really make it be loose inside of here. So I'm not really sure what happened here, but the new one, when I pressed it in, it had constant pressure the whole way down as I was pressing it in. So it's not moving anywhere. And what was the other one? I think it was number 3, wasn't it? The intake on 3. Yeah, and that one was wiggling too. So that one, again, went in smooth. So and it doesn't wiggle or move or nothing. So I'm not sure what happened that made these guys go loose. I don't even know. The hole itself was smoothed down inside too. So I'm not really sure about all the intake ones. Yeah, these are intake ones. Yeah, all the intakes came out smooth. So the exhaust ones. Okay, here's a good one about the exhaust ones that I noticed. Okay, let me see which one it was. All right. This was another reason why we cleaned up the edge too. But you see how these have this scrapes going down the guide? and this was number 3. So 1, 2, 3, this one here, whatever. So see these gouges that are in here? The head itself actually had the same gouges inside that hole. The hole looked just like this on the inside. So it looks like they must have either pressed them in on an angle or did something. I'm not really sure what they did to do that. Maybe you guys know. Let me hear down in the comments on what you think. Or maybe rust got in there, but it was pretty nasty inside there. Like they rammed them suckers in there. You could see the scratch goes the whole way up the side here. Like they didn't clean a hole or something like that. Something was in there that made it scrape and struts, or they put it on an angle, or somehow there must have been something in there. But it's pretty nasty or whatever. So that was number 3 that did that. Sorry, I'm rambling on here quite a bit, but see, number 4, it was the same way. You see that? See the scratches going all up and down the outside? Yeah, so I'm not sure what happened there. Wait, that actually looks like a hole. See that hole there? Huh, pretty neat. I didn't notice that before. There was actually a hole there. Okay, so these are the old ones, and here's the valves. So what we got next? Okay, so we got the valves in. Great. So let me flip it over, and I'm going to show you what I did. Well, actually, I did it from this side. I ended up the exhaust ones. I'm just going to show you from the top because it's just as easy to show you. You see how these ones go down in? It almost has the same amount of play, but it's super smooth. Didn't improve too much on the play in the valve. A little bit better than before, but not much. But I know I have it the opposite way. But so the exhaust ones, they were all good. Actually, I'm gonna have to look back in my video and look at the guide. So the intake ones, now they're super smooth, and the valve drops right in there. They have a little bit of play, but not much or whatever, but it's nice and smooth. And whenever we put these in, we pressed them in with the tool and everything that I had. So as this one here, I could not even get it past this edge. Like, I mean, I couldn't even get it started into the hole, because this one was, the edges were messed up and it was not straight going the whole way down through. So this was actually terrible before. I couldn't even drop it in like with ease at all. I had to actually force it in if I wanted to get it in there, but I didn't want to. I forced it a couple times just to see how much it was out of round inside, and it was pretty bad inside. So what I ended up doing, let me put that back. Here we go. What I did is I ended up buying an old school adjustable reamer. This one's from, I don't even know how old or whatever it is, but it came from the size is, well, it's a 7-A adjustable reamer. It's 9/32 to 5/16 large. So the valves themselves, they measure out to be 310.310. So I figure a 5/16 is 0.3125. So I figure that's good enough or whatever for it. So I got this old school one. It was brand new. It was still in the paper and everything. So I figure I would use it. Would be a little bit nicer than some Chinese brand new one or whatever. So what I did is I set the size to, this is, like I said, the valves were 310. So I made this a little bit bigger than 310. So then I could take it, put it right down in there, and kind of worked my way through. So let me put this in the tripod and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're over here. So the reamer itself, it's adjustable. You turn this down here, and this, moves up. Let me put this down. Moves up and down along here, and it increases the size of the blades or the diameter of the hole that it's going to ream out. But it's very adjustable. It's just a little bit, and it changes the size up quite a bit. So I would suggest that you always have your, you should always have calipers around in the garage anyways. Everybody should have a set. You can pick them up at a reasonable price. So you have to measure, as you adjust it and move it up and down through here, you need to measure the blades all the time. So what I ended up doing is I just kind of put it against it, and I kind of spun it inside the calipers and let the calipers move on their own. So you close it up a little bit and you kind of spin it. And you see the needle move? So then that's about where it's at. So 320 basically. So you got, these are all in inches also or whatever. So you can do the conversion yourself. So you figure 320 is what it would be or whatever right there. So, and remember, this isn't all that accurate, but it makes a really nice straight hole is what I noticed. So the valves are at 310 and I had this at 320. Do not follow these numbers. I'm telling you, do not follow my numbers whatsoever. Follow what's in your repair manual. Follow what's on there, which I had a hard time. I can't even find what the right number is, how much play it should have or should have anything. I can't find that at all in the Green Bible or anything. So what I did is that's how I did it. And also I ended up by noticing that this part of the blade was cutting more. So it must be when it's inside this holder is where you get most of the cutting action. It gets you the most accurate and it kind of curves it in to the front and the back or whatever. So right here is where the actual cutting was. So what I got this piece here from a tap set. It has a little knob handle like that, so then you could use the reamer like that. So what I did is I filled it with oil, squirt some oil down in there, and I put oil on the reamer itself. So then I just took it down, put it down inside, and I spun it around. What you want to do is you want to do just a little bit at a time. So as you're spinning it down, you'll feel it get harder and harder, and then as you do it, you'll lift it out, and there will be a bunch of shavings inside here. I took compressed air, blew out this, put some carb cleaner, sprayed it down in there, put some more fresh oil in here, and went down about probably about a ½ inch at a time or whatever. Just kind of went down. I felt it getting rougher and harder to spin it as I was going down in. So then I would stop and back it out and bring it up and out. So I did that the whole way for all the intake ones, because like I said, the exhaust ones were good. They were nice and straight and clear, and they opened up just fine. So I did all the intake ones for all 4 of them. And now, oh, that's the exhaust one. Now you can see it slides up and down nice and easy. See that? Got a little bit of play, but not bad. So those are good. So now our valve guides are all in. So we're good, and I'm happy with how those are working. Now the next thing is I'm going to be lapping the valves. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And also hand reaming. I'm going to put a warning at the beginning of this video too or whatever. This is what I'm doing in my garage because I don't plan on going to a machine shop. Because if I go to a machine shop to get this done, they're going to say your head's a complete train wreck and they'll want to redo everything and charge me millions of dollars. So I'm doing this in my own garage. This is how I want to do it with my head. So I would strongly suggest you take your head to a machine shop, a professional to do all of your work for you. Not just some shady tree mechanic like me or whatever that just does it in my garage. Because this will get me close enough for what I'm trying to do for the engine to get it to running and get it working or whatever. If you really want to get precise, I would definitely go to a machine shop. Do not do this at home. Get somebody that knows what they're doing to actually do all this work. I'm just doing it because I'm cheap and this is how I like to do things. I like to do it myself and not have someone else do it for me. So anyways, I'm going to flip over the head and we'll go over lapping. All right, we're going to look down into the valve guides. I think this is pretty cool or whatever, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it on film or whatever. You can kind of see how smooth they are inside of the valve guides when I move the light around. So the reamer worked pretty good, keeping everything smooth inside. There you go. So it works pretty good, actually. Surprisingly better than I thought it would. If I knew how to work a flashlight, it would help. You can kind of see how shiny it is inside. They're pretty smooth, all of them, so it's pretty cool. Alrighty, back to work. Alright, we're going to lap the valves here, and what we're doing is basically taking the valve and spinning it in there. What did I do with the valve? There we go. Here's the valve here, and we're only trying to polish this surface here to match this surface inside here. You can see there's a little shine. You can see the shine there a little bit. The valve seats are pretty good. They look pretty much brand new or whatever. They look nice. And this looks pretty good too or whatever. It has only a little bit of carbon, has a little bit of rust on it, but not much. But since we put the valve guides in, and I did a little shine test, I shone a light, where is it, through this side with the valve in there. Had it like this. Then I put a light back in through here. You can see there's a little bit of light coming through the edges. So that's not hitting there exactly perfect or whatever. So what we're going to do is we got some of this cream here. And what I'm just using is this stuff. It's a Builder's Aid valve grinding compound. And here's a little valve grinder thing. It spins your valve for you. So what you do is you take a little bit of the cream. I usually do this on any time I'm like replacing pistons and cylinders on an engine, like on a Volkswagen or anything else that I'm working on. So you just put a little bit on the edge here. Let me get a little bit more. And what it does, it just kind of cleans up the edge where the valve goes in, and it kind of gets the surface to be square again. And which you don't have to do this just because you do valve guides. You can do this just so you have it squared up again, just anytime you're doing the type of engine work or whatever. So you take your plunger thing here. All right, guys, quick tip. When you start grinding and you start lapping the valve seat, when you push this plunger down on after it falls off or whatever, make sure you support the bottom of the valve when you push this down to suction cup it to the valve, and then put it down and start grinding it. So you see at in the video I just started off, so I just was pushing down on it. But once you start grinding on it, you don't want to have all them fine grinds or whatever. Once it falls off, start messing up the valve seat. So when it falls off, just support the valve. You'll be good to go. So let's get to it. Get back to work. Kind of push it down on, and you kind of go back and forth with it if it decides to stick on there. And put a little dab of oil on there. There you go. And you just kind of, it's very old school way of doing it. I don't know if you can hear the sound, but it actually gets quieter as you're going because it's actually grinding down the paste. And the valve at the same time, kind of thing. There you go. Let's push it up out. You want to do this a couple times. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So then you take it, you would clean off, take some cleaner, a carb cleaner or whatever or something, and clean up this surface, clean up all of your paste that you're using, clean up all the paste off of here, clean it all up, and then check to see if I can get it nice and clean and nice and tight on there whenever just laying on there without the spring. And you'll have the spring to keep it tight on there too, but this kind of makes everything happy and square again with itself. So I'm going to do the rest of these and I'll be back. Hey guys, while I'm here lapping these valves over and over again, all 8 of them, you ever work on something and as you're doing it, you're thinking, I hope to God this works. This, you know what we do? I'm lapping these valves and put in new valve guides and all that kind of stuff. And I just wonder, do you guys, when you're working on stuff, sit there and think, I hope to God this stuff works? Just a random thought. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Okay, this is when we get serious here in the shop. Okay, so I'm cleaning up the valves. I even got a fresh pizza box. I'm taking all the valves and I'm cleaning off with brake clean and then compressed air, putting it all over on it to get any chips that are left on there. I have a clean paper towel with some lacquer thinner. I'm just kind of cleaning up the valves, making sure there's no little chips or grindings or anything like that on the valves themselves. So they're looking pretty good, but I'm doing a close inspection on all of them. Make sure there's no little chips on them or nothing like that from the grinding. Then put them into the fresh pizza box. Alrighty, and I also did the head too, so I'm going to go do that as well. Okay, so I hit the head with carb cleaner with compressed air. The same thing I did with this. So now I'm going to take a little bit of another clean towel, some lacquer thinner, and I'm going to do a little cleaning. Make sure there's no little pieces left or any grindings left inside where the valve seats will be sitting and inside the valve guides themselves or whatever. So like I took the brake clean and carb cleaner and everything and I sprayed it all down through everything. And then I took compressed air and compressed air the whole thing. And then I did it on both sides, twice on both sides, to completely flush and clean out the chambers in here as much as possible. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to take this with some lacquer thinner and go around and clean up all the holes. Okay, so before I put the valves in, you got to put your valve seals in. So it's part of the decoking kit that I got. I don't know if I talk about it now or later in the film, I don't know, or which one I do. But I just put a little bit of oil on the inside of it. And put a little oil on the valve itself. Just popping them on. Spin them around a little bit. Make sure they're on there good. And you're done. So then also you got the bigger one that goes on the exhaust one and the smaller one with the smaller hole here that goes on your intake. I'm gonna put a little bit of oil, a little dab here on the inside, just so it pops on there a little easy. There you go. I'm gonna put those on. Alright, so we're installing the valves now. You can see I got one on already. So what tool I'm going to use this time, you saw the other tool before. I'm going to use this one, which is a tool a friend of mine gave me, I don't know, a long time ago. Probably at least 25, 30 years ago. So anyways, it's an old Craftsman compressor or whatever. This pushes on the valve. This pushes onto the spring down so you can put your keeper in. So we're going to use this time. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to get set up, but once it works, once it's on there, it works. Okay. See, I got number 1 in there already, the exhaust. Now I'm going to put the intake in. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil on here. Clean oil. I already got the seal in there, so I put a little bit of oil on the seal as well, so it slides in. Put our valve up in. The seal kind of holds it in place too, so it doesn't fall over. Whoop. Okay, so, and here's our spring. It's a double spring, which I found very surprising. It's a double spring. I guess it holds that valve closer or whatever. Closer, or easier, or harder. Okay, excuse my arm. So then we got our top piece here. Goes under there. Grab our keepers over here. 2 little keepers for the spring. And I cleaned all this up already, the keepers and everything in lacquer thinner. So we're nice and clean with those as well. All right, so let's get the tool. This pushes onto the valve. And as you pull the handle, it locks down and pushes the valve down. You see it? Did you see that? Yeah, you could see that on camera. Then you put your little keepers in. Make sure they're into the little groove on top. All right, you got them on there. Then you let go of the tool. Go the whole way. And there you go. Valve's in. There you go. So that's how easy it is. Just to press it in and have your little keepers there to hold it in place. So I'm going to continue working on all the rest of them. Got all the valves in with the keepers and the tops and everything, and they all turned out perfect. They're in there nice and solid, and I shone a light up through, and there's no light showing through or anything. So the head is pretty much done. I took some lacquer thinner, and I took another clean sweep over it and kind of wiped and cleaned everything off here, so there's no oil on the surface at all. So the head is pretty much finished and ready to be installed. All right, so we got the head all together. It's clean, ready to go, and ready to install. So the next video is going to be looking at head gaskets, getting that together, and installing it back on to the truck itself. So thank you if you stayed the whole way through the video. It's a long video, and I know it. But thank you very much, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye. Stay awesome.